Hello, a very good morning to all of you. Welcome back to Appreciating Literature. We have come to the last part of Harold Pinter's Art, Truth and Politics. So, in the previous class, we were seeing about America's foreign policy, especially their militarism and imperialism, or kind of we can say modern colonization. മറ്റുള്ള രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ അവരെങ്ങനെയാണ് കടന്നു കയറുന്നു, അതുപോലെ അവിടെ യുദ്ധം ഉണ്ടാകുന്നതൊക്കെയാണ് നമ്മൾ അവിടെ കണ്ടത്. So let us come to the third part of this lesson. Death in this context is irrelevant. So it is with regard to Americans or the leaders of America. For them, death is not important, or the opposite is very true. Life of other people is not important for them. So death is not relevant means life itself is not relevant. Life has no value for them. മറ്റുള്ളവരുടെ ജീവന് അവർ വില കൽപ്പിക്കുന്നില്ല. Both Bush and Blair place death well away on the back burner. On the back burner means giving less importance. That's all. So Bush and Blair, both America's and Britain's leaders, they don't care about life. They don't care about other countries. At least 1 million Iraqis were killed by American bombs and missiles before the Iraq insurgency began. So during the war between America and Iraq, find that around 1 million Iraqis were killed brutally before the people themselves started rising against the rulers. These people are of no moment. Here moment means importance. For Americans, the lives of other people, whether it is Iraq or Nicaragua or any other country, is not important. Their lives are not valuable. Their deaths don't exist. So they don't worry about how many people die there. That's not a fact according to them. Or rather, they don't give importance to this kind of death or the number of people dying. They are blank. So they make a conscious effort to see that they don't come to the public. മീഡിയയിൽ കൂടി അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മറ്റുള്ള പ്രസിദ്ധീകരണങ്ങളിൽ കൂടി ഇതൊന്നും പുറത്ത് വരാൻ അവർക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമില്ല. അത് എങ്ങനെയല്ല അവർ അത് ഉറപ്പാക്കും, അത് പുറത്തേക്ക് പബ്ലിഷ് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല എന്നുള്ളത്. They are not even recorded as being dead. So there is no record. We don't do body counts, said the American General Tommy Franks. Here body counts means taking the number of people dead. So they don't care how many people are dead in the process. Early in the invasion, there was a photograph published on the front page of British newspapers of Tony Blair kissing the cheek of a little Iraqi boy. So there was a photo in the media, the British Prime Minister kissing the boy from Iraq. A grateful child, said the caption. A few days later, there was a story and a photograph on an inside page of another 4-year-old boy with no arms. So there was another picture of a boy who had lost his arms. His family had been blown up by a missile. So then the rest of the family were all dead, killed by a missile. He was the only survivor. When do I get my arms back? He asked. So this innocent child is asking when he will get back his hands. The story was dropped. Nobody was bothered about that news, that shocking news. Well, Tony Blair wasn't holding him in his arms, nor the body of any other mutilated child, nor the body of any bloody corpse. So the British Prime Minister wouldn't dare to hold a boy like him in his hands, or the dead body of a child, or any child who is mutilated, who is crippled by this war. Blood is dirty. Yes, he wouldn't touch any kind of dirty people or bloodied children. It dirties your shirt and tie when you are making a sincere speech on television. So, in front of the media, they would like to look or appear to be very decent people. So, their hands should not be dirty with blood. The 2000 American dead are an embarrassment. So, during this war, around 2000 American soldiers were dead. Of course, for them, it is a kind of shame, embarrassment. They are transported to their graves in the dark. So, without much publicity, their dead bodies are brought back to America. Funerals are unobtrusive, out of harm's way. So, again, they don't want to publicize that. The people who are dead, their own people. So, they don't give much publicity to this kind of funerals. The mutilated rot in their beds, some for the rest of their lives. So, the soldiers who are wounded, who are crippled, for the rest of their lives they will be slowly dying, slow death. So, the dead and the mutilated both rot in different kinds of graves. So, here the reference is to the soldiers who are wounded, who are crippled, maimed, who lost their limbs. So, they are also almost like dead people. Only thing is they have life. So, they are rot in their bed while others are in the graves. The United States now occupies 702 military installations throughout the world in 132 countries, with the honorable exception of Sweden, of course. So, the Americans have got 702 military camps or military centers, installation throughout the world. In around 132 countries, they have got the military installations. That means their army is there, except in Sweden, of course. We don't quite know how they got there, but they are all there. They are all there, all right. Somehow they managed to get into all these countries. There's a majority of the countries, Americans military is there. Somehow, we don't know how. The United States possesses 8,000 active and operational nuclear warheads. So, this data is quite old. So, now of course, it must be much more than this number. 2,000 are on hair trigger alert, ready to be launched with 15 minutes warning. So, these are all need to be updated, this kind of data. Again, not relevant today. Today, of course, the latest news is that America has found some missiles which are some 15 times faster than sound. So, you can imagine the speed of those missiles. That means within few seconds they can hit any country, few minutes even. Okay. It is developing new systems of nuclear force known as bunker busters. These are all old weapons. The British, ever cooperative, are intending to replace their own nuclear missile, Trident. Who, I wonder, are they aiming at? Osama bin Laden? You, me, Joe Dex, China, Paris, who knows? So, anyway, it is their policy to upgrade their military. It is followed by every country. It is Russia, China, or any European countries. They will be definitely equipping themselves with the latest weapons. Nobody can stop them. Who they are aiming? Of course, they have got their own reasons for that. They always say that it is for their security, a kind of deterrent, so that once you have got more powerful weapons, other countries will not dare to attack you. So, that is a rationalization behind this kind of accumulation of weapons. What we do know is that this infantile insanity, the possession and threatened use of nuclear weapons, is at the heart of present American political philosophy. So here infantile means childish. Insanity means madness. That means it's almost like childish madness, just like children who behave immaturely. So that's the meaning of infantile insanity. That means it's not very reasonable, irrational. That means they possess and they threaten the use of this weapon. That means when you have weapons, it is of course intended for others. So this is the core of their political philosophy, that they don't mind using the missiles, whether it is nuclear or not, against any country who they think are a threat. We must remind ourselves that the United States is on a permanent military footing and shows no sign of relaxing it. So they are always battle ready. That means they are ready for war anytime, anywhere. From that, there is no going back. Many thousands, if not millions, of people in the United States itself are demonstrably sickened, shamed, and angered by the government's actions. But as things stand, they are not a coherent political force yet. So, if you look at the mindset of the Americans, most of the Americans are fed up. They are disillusioned. They are sick of their government's policies. Demonstrably means it is outwardly shown. Sickened here means they are kind of maybe desperate because they know that they can't change the policies of the government, and they are also ashamed of that. They are also even angry at the government policies, but somehow they are not able to change the policies of the government. They are not able to come to the coherent political force. Means here coherent means coming together as a one group. So the people are not able to come together against these policies. But the anxiety, uncertainty, and fear which we can see growing daily in the United States is unlikely to diminish. So this anger and hatred against the government will definitely grow day by day. It's not going to diminish or decrease. I know that President Bush has many extremely competent speech writers, but I would like to volunteer for the job myself. Here you find Harold Pinter is going to write a speech for him, for the President of America. I propose the following short address which he can make on television to the nation. So this speech is meant for the American President to address the people on TV. I see him grave, hair carefully combed, serious, winning, sincere, often beguiling, sometimes employing a wry smile, curiously attractive, a man's man. So here the author is imagining how the President of America appear before the camera in front of the TV. Rather serious, his appearance is very attractive, rather serious. Winning means attractive, sincere, often beguiling. Beguiling means almost kind of cheating, disguising. That means what is on the outside is not what is inside. Kind of pretending or acting. Sometimes employing a wry smile. Wry means not sincere. Kind of wicked, evil smile. So that is how the American president would appear before the TV or before the camera. And the speech is like this. So this speech is prepared by Harold Pinter for the sake of American president. So the speech starts something like this: God is good, God is great. So always they get the help of God for any nonsense that they do. God is good, yes. My God is good. Bin Laden's God is bad. He is a bad God. So they are blaming their gods for everything. Saddam's God was bad, except he didn't have one. Yes. So Saddam Hussein did not have a God, we don't know. He was a barbarian, yes. uncultured, uncivilized man. We are not barbarians, we are very highly civilized people. We don't chop people's heads off, yes. We only shoot people or bomb people. Does that make any difference? We believe in freedom, yes. Whose freedom? So does God. So God also believes in freedom. I am not a barbarian. I am the democratically elected leader of a freedom-loving democracy. We are a compassionate society. So here you find that the author is intending outright irony, kind of making fun of American president through this speech which he is supposed to give. So American president or the leader of America always have the excuse of their democracy and also freedom. Whatever they do is for democracy and for the freedom of the people. We give compassionate electrocution and compassionate lethal injection. Yes. So electrocution means killing people with electricity, electric shock. Lethal injection means injecting poison. We are a great nation. I am not a dictator. He is. So a democratically elected leader cannot be a dictator, definitely. He is. He is means the other people whom they are fighting, of course. They are enemies. I am not a barbarian. He is. And he is. They all are. I possess moral authority. Yes. So as the democratically elected leader of America, he has the moral authority. Dharmiga adhikaram. You see this fist? This is my moral authority. And don't you forget it. So this fist stands for the power of American president. That means as long as America has got the power to do anything, they will do that. So it's a kind of warning to other people. A writer's life is a highly vulnerable, almost naked activity. Now he is coming to the role of a writer. So we know that even in the present day, not only just writer, even people who work in the media, the journalists today are in danger, because the moment they speak out against any leader, they can be killed. We know that recently many media people, many journalists were killed in our country, even in our own state, Kerala. So that is a position of a writer, highly vulnerable. That means he can be attacked, he can be killed anytime. We don't have to weep about that. So we don't have to cry about that. That is a fact. The writer makes his choice and is stuck with it. So a good writer, he stands for his principles to tell the truth to the world. But it is true to say that you are open to all the winds, some of them icy indeed. All the winds means all kinds of reactions will be there when you report the truth. Some of them are icy indeed. Icy means very cold, very unpleasant, very kind of painful. So these kind of reactions will be there when you report the truth, what is happening outside in the world. You are out on your own, out on a limb. Here out on a limb means you are in a kind of disadvantage. You are alone. There is nobody to support you. That means you can be easily targeted. You have no protection. You have no safety. You find no shelter, no protection unless you lie. That means if you tell the truth only, you have a problem. If you lie, you are safe. In which case, of course, you have constructed your own protection. So when you are telling lies, you are safe. You have your own protection. And it could be argued, become a politician. Yes. If you don't tell the truth, and if you change the truth, depending upon the wishes or according to the wishes of the leaders, then you are safe, and maybe you have become a politician, because politicians will never tell the truth. I believe that despite the enormous odds which exist, unflinching, unswerving, fierce intellectual determination as citizens to define the real truth of ourselves and our societies is a crucial obligation which devolves upon us all. So this sentence is a rather very difficult one. I try to translate that into Malayalam for you. So the Malayalam translation is something like this. ഇന്ന് നിലവിലുള്ള ബൃഹത്തായ ആഗോള പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾക്ക് നടുവിലും പൗരന്മാരെന്ന നിലയ്ക്ക് ശരിക്കുള്ള നമ്മുടെ ജീവിത സാമൂഹ്യ യാഥാർത്ഥ്യങ്ങളെ നിർവചിക്കുന്നതിനുള്ള അചഞ്ചലവും തീക്ഷ്ണവുമായ ദൃഢനിശ്ചയം നമ്മിൽ നിക്ഷിപ്തമായിരിക്കുന്ന വളരെ നിർണായകമായ ഒരു ഉത്തരവാദിത്തമാണ്. It means, as citizens, it is our responsibility to tell the truth and also to define the truth about our lives and also our societies. That means we should be able to tell the world what is happening. If the politicians are corrupt, we should have the guts to tell that. Today, unfortunately, this is not happening. Even when our leaders are looting our own wealth and they are wallowing in corruption, we fail to react. So we have failed as a nation, we have failed as a good citizen, we have failed ourselves. So this is a tragic situation that Harold Pindar is talking here. So this is very relevant even today. When the politicians do anything that is wrong, we just keep quiet. That means silently we are supporting their corruption. It is in fact mandatory. That means it is compulsory. If you are a good citizen, it is your duty to react, to tell the truth that the king is naked. രാജാവ് നഗ്നനാണെങ്കിൽ അത് പറയാനുള്ള ധൈര്യം പ്രജകൾക്ക് ഉണ്ടാകണം. ചിലപ്പോൾ തലപോവും, അതൊക്കെ ശരിയാണ്. That is the reason nobody opens the mouth. If such a determination is not embodied in our political vision, we have no hope of restoring what is so nearly lost to us, the dignity of man. Yes, this is what is happening. ഇന്ന് നമുക്കിത് സത്യം തുറന്നു പറയാനുള്ള നിശ്ചയദാർഢ്യം നമുക്ക് നഷ്ടമായിരിക്കുന്നു. അതുകൊണ്ട് തന്നെയാണ് ഇപ്പം നമുക്ക് നഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു പോകുന്ന നമ്മുടെ എന്താ പറയുക ആത്മാഭിമാനം എന്നുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യം നമുക്കിന്ന് നഷ്ടമായിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഡിഗ്നിറ്റി ഓഫ് മാൻ. വി ആർ നോട്ട് ഡിഗ്നിറ്റി. വി ആർ നോട്ട് സേഫ്. വി ക്യാൻ ബി കിൽഡ് എനി ടൈം എനിവെയർ ബൈ എനിബഡി. ആർക്ക് വേണമെങ്കിലും നമ്മളെ എന്ത് വേണമെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യാമെന്നുള്ള അങ്ങനൊരു സാഹചര്യത്തിലേക്ക് നമ്മൾ കടന്നു പോകണം. സോ ദിസ് എ സാഡ് തിങ്. സോ വി ഹാവ് നോ ഡിഗ്നിറ്റി ഓഫ് ലൈഫ്. നമ്മുടെ ജീവിതത്തിന് ഒരു വിലയില്ല. ഒരു മനുഷ്യന് വിലയില്ലാത്ത ഒരു കാലമാണ്. So that's the end of the lesson by Harold Pindar. Now we are going to the question answers. Answer the following questions in 1 or 2 sentences. The short answer questions first. First question is, why does Pindar say that truth in drama is forever elusive? Answer is, Pindar says that truth in drama is forever elusive because there is never any such thing as one truth to be found in a dramatic art. In fact, there will be many truth. ഇപ്പോൾ നാടകത്തിൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നാടകീയ കലകളിൽ ഒരുപക്ഷെ സത്യത്തിന് പല മുഖങ്ങളുണ്ടാവുക. So there is not just one truth. Maybe that truth will depend on the outlook of the playwright. ഒരുപക്ഷെ ആ നാടകൃത്തിൻ്റെ മനോഭാവത്തിലായിരിക്കും ആ സത്യം ഇരിക്കുന്നത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആ നാടകം കാണുന്ന കാഴ്ചക്കാരിലായിരിക്കും ആ സത്യം. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് സംതിങ് ഹിഡൻ ദെയർ. അത് നമ്മൾ കണ്ടെത്തേണ്ട ഒരു സത്യമാണ്. അത് ഒരു പെർമനൻറ്റ് ട്രൂത്ത് അല്ല. Second question, what was the justification for the invasion of Iraq? The justification for the invasion of Iraq was that it possessed WMD or weapons of mass destruction, some of which could be fired in 45 minutes, bringing great destruction. അപ്പോൾ ഇറാഖിന് ഒത്തിരി വെപ്പൺസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു എന്നുള്ള കാരണം കൊണ്ടാണ് അവർ ഇറാഖിനെ അറ്റാക്ക് ചെയ്തത്. 3. What do you mean by low intensity conflict? Answer is, low intensity conflict means killing the people slowly. If you drop a bomb, people will die fast. Of course, that is not low intensity conflict. But if you infect the heart of the people, they will die very slowly, and this way you can subdue a people without dropping any bomb. So they want to create a kind of internal conflict. ഒരു രാജ്യത്തിന് അകത്ത് കയറി അവിടെ കലാപം സൃഷ്ടിക്കുക. അങ്ങനെയാണ് അവർ ഈ ലോ ഇൻറ്റൻസീവ് കോൺഫ്ലിക്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത്. അപ്പം ഇവർ പുറത്ത് നിൽക്കുന്നില്ല, അപ്പോൾ ഇവർ അകത്തേക്ക് വരുന്നില്ല. പുറത്ത് നിന്നിട്ട് ഇപ്പോൾ അവിടെ രണ്ട് ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പിനെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുക. അതാണ് കോൺട്രാസ്റ്റിനെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അവർക്ക് യുദ്ധ സന്നാഹങ്ങൾ കൊടുക്കുക, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വെപ്പൺസ് കൊടുക്കുക, അങ്ങനെ അവരെ പ്രോത്സാഹിപ്പിക്കുക. Fourth question: who were the Sandinistas? The Sandinistas were members of the left-wing Nicaraguan political organization, the Sandinista National Liberation Front. So that is the party. They came to power in 1979 after overthrowing the dictator Anastasio Somoza, whom Americans supported. The Sandinista was opposed by the Contras, who were supported by the US. 3. Answer the following questions in a paragraph. First question is Pinder's criticism of the American foreign policy in Nicaragua. Pinder is highly critical of the foreign policy of America in Nicaragua. The US supported the brutal Somoza dictatorship in Nicaragua for over 40 years. 40 വർഷത്തോളം ഈ ഡിക്റ്റേറ്ററിനെ അമേരിക്ക സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്തു. The Nicaraguan people, led by the Sandinistas, overthrew the Somoza government in 1979. The Sandinistas were not perfect. Their philosophy had contradictory elements. They tried to have a stable, decent government. Death penalty was abolished. അപ്പോൾ ഈ സാൻഡിനിസ്റ്റാസ് പാർട്ടിക്ക് അവരുടേതായ പ്രശ്നങ്ങളുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, വീക്ക്നെസ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. എങ്കിലും അവർ ഒരു സ്റ്റേബിൾ ഗവൺമെൻറ് കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ വേണ്ടി അവർ പ്രയത്നിച്ചു. Millions of poverty-stricken peasants were helped. അപ്പോൾ ലക്ഷക്കണക്കിന് ദരിദ്രരായ കൃഷിക്കാരൊക്കെ അവർ സഹായിച്ചു. Over 1 million families were given title to land. അപ്പോൾ ഉടമയ്ക്ക്, അതായത് ഉടമസ്ഥാവകാശം ഭൂമിക്ക് ഉള്ള കൊടുത്തു. അതാണ് ടൈറ്റിൽ ഡീഡ്. 2000 schools were built. Illiteracy was reduced. Free education and free health services were established. So these are some of the developmental programs they implemented. Child deaths were brought down and polio was eradicated, but Contras were fighting the Sandinistas. So in spite of doing all that, you find the Contras were fighting against this government. The US government helped the Contras and finally brought down the Sandinista government. So with the help of America's support, the Contras were able to bring this government down. Long suffering and 30,000 dead reduced the fighting spirit of the Nicaraguan people. So many of the people were killed. So naturally they lost their spirit to fight. So the government had to go out of power. There was poverty once again. Casinos came back. Free education and health were gone. Big business returned. Democracy had prevailed, the US said. So after the Sandinistas were brought down, the Contras were in power, and according to America, democracy won. They were very happy. But here we find that the people are suffering and they are going back to their old condition. Second question: Pinder's anti-Americanism. Answer: Pinder is very much against the American policies and their practices in many Asian, African and Latin American countries. So Pinder is very clear in his stand against America's foreign policy, where they go and interfere in many countries, whether it is in Asia, Africa or Latin American countries. Iraq was invaded by the US. The reason for invading Iraq was that it possessed weapons of mass destruction, some of which could be fired in 45 minutes, bringing great destruction, which you have already seen. At least 1 million Iraqis were killed by American bombs and missiles. The allegation against Iraq was not true. Then the US helped the Contras in overthrowing the Sandinista government, which had brought a lot of reforms in Nicaragua. The US has 702 military installations throughout the world in 132 countries. It has around 8,000 active and operational nuclear warheads. So, this is how America is trying to conquer the rest of the world by engaging in war anywhere they feel like, killing people and overtaking the government with the help of Contras and all that. So, out of the 8,000 nuclear heads, around 2,000 are on hair trigger alert. That means anytime they are ready to be launched with a 15 minutes warning. So, it must be much faster today. It is developing new systems of nuclear force known as bunker busters. The US interferes in the affairs of other governments on the pretext of protecting freedom, human rights, and democracy, even as it is its Guantanamo Bay, where prisoners are tortured and kept without trial. So, their logic or reason for attacking other countries is they want to protect democracy, human rights, and all that. But at the same time, they have their own concentration camps where they keep people without trial and all that, and where they are tortured. Fifth question. Attempt an essay on the following questions. First, how does Pinder criticize the policies and practices of the American administration? I think most of the points will be repeated, so I will go a little faster. Pinder criticizes the policies and practices of the American administration by pointing out the atrocities it has committed in different places in the name of protecting freedom and democracy in the world. We saw what America did in Iraq. The justification for the invasion of Iraq was that it possessed weapons of mass destruction, some of which could be fired in 45 minutes, bringing great destruction. But this allegation proved to be false. At least 1 million Iraqis were killed and millions of dollars worth property was destroyed by the American bombs and missiles. Thousands were maimed and many of them were destined to stay in bed all their lives. Maimed means crippled. Angavailan sambhavikkunnu. Then we see what the US did in Nicaragua. The US supported the brutal Somoza dictatorship in Nicaragua for over 40 years. The Nicaraguan people, led by the Sandinistas, overthrew Somoza in 1979. The Sandinistas were not perfect. Their philosophy had contradictory elements. They tried to have a stable, decent government. Death penalty was abolished. So these are some of the good things that this government did. Millions of poverty-stricken peasants were helped. Over 1 million families were given title to land. 2,000 schools were built. Illiteracy was reduced. Free education and free health services were established. Child deaths were brought down and polio was eradicated. But Contras were fighting the Sandinistas. I think all these are explained, so I don't like to repeat that. The US government helped the Contras and finally brought down the Sandinista government. Long suffering and 30,000 dead reduced the fighting spirit of the Nicaraguan people. There was poverty once again, casinos came back, free education and health were gone, big business returned, democracy had prevailed, the US said. America propagates that it is the champion of peace, freedom, human rights, and democracy. So, this is their great excuse for waging war against other countries. But it interferes in the affairs of even democratic governments, bringing problems to them. The US has 702 military installations throughout the world in 132 countries. It has 8,000 active and operational nuclear warheads. 7,000 are on hair trigger alert, ready to be launched with a 15 minutes warning. It is developing new systems of nuclear force known as bunker busters. Countries are afraid of America and that is why they keep quiet. I think with that we have come to the end of this lesson and the question answers. So it is goodbye until we meet again with the next lesson. Thank you.